Hello and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings, you guys. We're going to do another quick episode on Rise to War, and we're going to do heroes. We're going to be doing hero episodes. So, with no further ado, let me introduce you all to Jethros!
Hey
All
guys,
right.
how's it going?
Yes, thank you for joining us, Jethros. All right,
No
so
problem.
we're going to talk about Gandalf in this episode, and we're going to try to make them between 5 and 10 minutes. So they're really fast, so you guys can come and just check them out. So let's start with Gandalf. I'm going to bring up the portrait and his abilities, and where do you want to start, Jethros, on Gandalf?
I mean, the first thing, just talk about the main stats that they benefit from. Actually,
Yes,
so
stats.
pretty simple with Gandalf. He's focus. So
Focus.
yeah,
Yes.
you want stuff that's going to boost his focus. Most of his abilities are going to, if they do scale, they scale with focus and do more benefit based on focus. So yeah, so that's really important.
And then his weapons, like you told me, Smite was really good because it's a focus-based ability, right? Scales with focus.
Yeah, Smite's really good with him because it's going to do more damage than Pierce, which it gives you a trigger on a second attack, but it doesn't scale with focus. Poison does scale with focus though. So like if you at the worst case have just like the orc crossbow that has like venom on it, that'd be a pretty good weapon with him too. So
Sweet.
because of one of his skills. So yeah.
Cool. And then right now I don't have a purple thing on him, but I have the garrison coat, which just gives him 12 focus, and then his army gets some HP. So that's why this one was the best thing
that
I
one's
had for
actually
him.
extremely good on him because I even use it even though I had access to like decent purples because it's just I'd rather put the purple on someone else and he already gets someone thing he needs from that.
Yeah, 12's a lot, especially for the blue ones being so easy to get the armor.
Definitely.
All right, so my Gandalf, yours is level 50, right? Mine's only 46, but we can still see
Mine's
all the
actually
abilities.
48.
Yours is 48, and
Yeah.
but your respect is 5, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Respect 6.
All
Yeah.
right, 6. Yeah, I'm only at 3, but I can still see all the abilities, so we can talk about them. So let's go through the ability tree and what do you usually like to use with units and stuff? Whichever one you want to do first.
So I think Gandalf, with his best build, you're just gonna want 2 units. You're gonna want a tanky front line and a decent damage, probably ranged back line in order to allow them to do like tons of extra damage. The good ratio is about either 30 to 40% of your tanky frontliners, and the rest to be doing your damage in the background. And so I would usually try to set my composition that way.
So good tanks would probably be like maybe guardians or like.
Mm-hmm.
Or have you? What have you did? Can you do horses with them? Like, could you do bow knights and cataphracts or?
Absolutely,
Or
yes. You
yeah.
could use Bow Knights and Cataphracts. I mean, really anything. If it's a men, elves, dwarves, then they're gonna get a defensive boost. So those ones are really good for the front
Because
line
of free peoples, right?
because of free peoples, exactly.
All right, cool. So let's do. When you going to go through the Mithrandir part tree and then go up, or whichever one you think is better.
Yeah,
Like,
I
what do
mean,
you
I think
recommend?
the main thing to focus on with Gandalf is the gray, and so that's going to inform almost everything you're trying to do with him, because every time he deals damage, doesn't have to be an actual regular attack. It could be a skill, or it could be triggered from a weapon modification. So that
Like
can
Smite?
allow it to trigger like Smite, like Pierce, like Venom. So when those go off, it triggers another possibility of getting the gray, which is where a lot of his healing comes from. And he does a pretty
That's so
substantial
good.
amount. You'll usually notice, somewhere between 36 to 50, and sometimes even getting close to 60k healing with him,
Which is
depending
a
on your
lot.
items as well. Yeah,
My
pretty
dwarf.
good.
Yeah, Ballin only gets like 35 usually, and he has really good healing abilities
Yeah,
and
he
quite a bit of
actually has 2
focus.
healing abilities, right?
Yeah, so it's really
Yeah.
good. And then, so then blindside's one you want to have at least 1 point in if you're using the gray, right? Because not to mention it's really good because it'll be
Yeah,
another
because I mean it's a
damage
guaranteed
instance.
stun, right? So you want the
Yeah,
1 point for the stun that you get guaranteed, and then it just does a little focus damage, but just that little bit of damage is another chance to trigger the gray. So definitely 1 point in there. And then right here, the fleeting movements is probably the main reason why I think it's best to use him with just a composition of 2.
because 2 units. Yeah,
Because it only affects 2 units. Now, it's fine if you have a third unit in there for whatever reason. It's still going to help out 2 of your units, but you have less control over it affecting the ones that you'd prefer it to affect. When you pick 2 units, it's going to affect your 2 main armies, and so.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then, I think a lot of people would ask is like, what if my Gandalf is only rank 1? What if he's only rank 3 and only gets the third tree? What do you think the
Mm.
best combination of trees are? And then you can talk about the wizard too after, or Mithrandir.
Oh yeah, always the best combination of trees, no matter even if you have respect 5, it's always going to be going in the gray and going in Mithrandir and getting the skills that shoot off from that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the only thing that would change is when you do get respect 3, that you should get a couple points in wizard and 1 point in surge, just for another possibility to trigger damage
Mm-hmm.
with Gan. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as his main build goes, it's going to be useful no matter what faction you go. I think that this is going to be really, really good.
Let's say you have like absurd amount of points, right? You're like respect 7 and you have him level 50. You have all these points. If you filled up the gray tree, right? Fleeting movement, blindside gray, the gray, and then Mithrandir, that and the free peoples, right? Was it
Mm-hmm.
convert Vern? I can't say it.
Convener.
Convener. There we go. Yeah, convener. And then you went into wizard and you put a point in a surge. Would you want to put the rest of the points in a pipeweed for just more focus, even though you lose might?
Well, you could only put 1 point into pipeweed because you only have 2 in wizard.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I had done at one point was I just put the extra points in blindside for the extra damage.
Okay, okay. So because that 2% isn't really probably a huge difference, especially because you're losing 1% might. It's not like a really good trade-off anyway, probably.
Right.
But and then what do you think for the last part of the tree for the white? Like, I'm sure you've tested it.
So White Council is going to be really good if you are facing evil. That's pretty much the main use of it. If you're facing a lot of evil units, evil factions. I mean, we have to remember that next season we're going to be dealing with the ability for people to mix them. So it's not really going to matter like, I'm fighting Mordor now, so I can expect they have to use these evil types of units. It's going to be like some people can mix them up and use them on the good side as well. So what it's going to come down to is, hey, which units are the best and which one are you seeing a lot when you fight the certain faction? And then you kind of just do it from there.
And that mainly has to do with Champion of Light, right? Is why you're saying that, because
Champion of Light is a big point, but it actually does have to do with High Alert as well, because there are a lot more evil commanders that
do those things.
Do those types of damage: focus, burn, poison.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Good to know. All right. Sweet. Cool. Well, wow. We covered that rather in our time that we were trying to do. So we basically covered the whole tree. What kind of armies you should have? Probably a group of range and melee, right? Only 2 is usually better. Focus for his gear. Ability that stacks on focus or does some extra instance of damage for the gray is good. And then I'm trying to sum up everything we just talked about. And then he's a support specialist, again, supporting his army. I feel like he himself doesn't do a lot of damage, right? Like,
yeah, most of the time he's not going to do too much.
He's definitely maybe like support for his
maybe
army.
He does like 20,000-30,000 because of his might. If you have smite, you'll do a little bit more because he'll scale better with it. But yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, and then I think you would, in his equipment, besides focus, you would probably want things that increase the damage of his like ranged units. That would be a really good thing to do with him too, because you're going to have the ranged backline, so you're going to get the most out of pumping those up rather than trying to pump up his damage.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add, Jethroth? Because we pretty much did it. We did it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good overall.
I think that's a good overview of Gandalf.
Yeah, just make sure you remember he scales really well with anything focused. So even sometimes his items that scale with healing with focus might be better than ones that just do flat healing that aren't dependent on focus.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Jethroth. And guys, we're going to do more videos, so keep in tune. keep up to date. Subscribe button's going to pop up right up there, and we'll have more videos of this playlist of these up in the top left, and then our main playlist, Literature Tales, over there, what I do with Voice of the Ring. So have a good one, guys. Thanks for joining us.